What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here live on a Monday night. One day after NFL Divisional Round 2021. Today, I have a big smile on my face. Why? Because I told you. That's all I'll say. We'll wait for it. It's the main event. We'll talk about it, okay? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have defeated the Bullies and moved on to the NFC Championship to take on the Green Bay Packers. I'm happy about it, of course. We'll talk about it. But before that, we have a lot to talk about. We have all the reviews, the recaps, the discussion, the reaction to Divisional Round, each matchup, including the Bucs and the Saints, as well as every other game that happened. The madness with Patrick Mahomes getting injured and Chad Henne coming in. Woo! The Green Bay Packers offense dominating the LA Rams defense. And also discussing the Buffalo Bills in a tight defensive battle over Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to talk about that game. We have a few other things in terms of breaking news, coaching hires, some players coming off of IR for the playoffs, and other stuff that we got to get caught up on. And I'm going to give you my thoughts and my analysis on all of those moves. I think there's been a lot of awesome coaching hires this offseason, and there's been plenty of good candidates. I know that some people are saying this is kind of one of the weaker coaching cycles. But honestly, I truly feel that you don't really know what a coaching cycle is truly made of until you actually see them coach. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago when people were saying, "Oh, Sean McVay, are you kidding me? Who is this kid? We don't even know who he is. We don't even know where he's been. He's been in the NFL for a couple of years. This is a baby. This is a kid." All of a sudden, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. So you never truly know, and I don't truly know. But I will give you my thoughts on every head coach hiring that we had over this past weekend or so. I already talked about a few of them, and I'll go over them again once I rank the entire list in a separate video to itself. But in this video, I'm going to talk about the ones that I haven't gone over already. There's some big ones. Of course, in Detroit, there was one. New York with the Jets. The LA Chargers taking one of the Rams coaches. LA connection. As well as the Atlanta Falcons with Arthur Smith. So we're going to talk about all those too. Before I talk about everything that happened this weekend in the NFL, make sure you do spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to The Bottom Line View for more NFL reactions just like this. The weekly NFL review on The Bottom Line View each and every week, where I rant and I rave about the last week in the NFL. You guys might notice I have a slight sore throat or a slight voice, just it's not 100% right now. And that's because I was actually screaming at the top of my lungs yesterday during that Bucs Saints game. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I haven't done that in quite some time. It's been a very long time that I was as invested in a football game as I was during that Saints-Bucs game. I'm going to leave that for the main event or later on in the show. But man, I'm telling you, you can probably hear it just a little bit. My voice when I woke up this morning, I hadn't had this feeling in so long. I was like, what in the heck? Because usually I'm pretty good because I talk every day on camera, right? So my voice has a very high fatigue meter. It doesn't get fatigued very often. But man, it was killing me earlier, and it's not at 100% right now. So that is why, because I was just screaming at the television yesterday. So the first thing we need to do is discuss Drew Brees. That's the first thing I want to do here today. Okay? Drew Brees, the legend, Drew Brees, is now most likely, now it's not 100%, but most reports suggest that Drew Brees has played his final game in the NFL yesterday versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He went out in a way that I never like to see legends go out. I never like to see the legends of a sport leave with a bad performance. Everybody would much rather see the Ray Lewis, the Peyton Manning, these performances where maybe they're not even good, okay, in the case of Peyton Manning, but they win. They go out on top. They get that Super Bowl. And I think a lot of people wanted Drew Brees to win that final second Super Bowl. And midway through the game, I was watching, I was like, if the Bucs are not able to pick this W up, of course I'm cheering for the Bucs. I want the Saints to win the Super Bowl. That's what I was thinking. And I think a lot of people think I hate the Saints. I think a lot of people think I hate Drew Brees. And that is kind of like the tough spot that you're in when you are analyzing pro athletes. When you are trying to give your honest take, your honest opinion on a player, right? My analysis has never had anything to do with Drew Brees, the person. Never had anything to do with if I liked Drew Brees or not. In fact, I've always liked Drew Brees, okay? Anyone that's known me, I used to be a Saints fan, believe it or not. And I don't mean like a fan of the team in terms of that was my number one team, like diehard fan. Back in when they got Drew Brees, like 2006-ish, when they had the whole, Hurricane Katrina thing, I jumped on the bandwagon, so to speak. Of course, I was already a Patriots fan at that point, but I think a lot of people would say, I remember going to San Diego and buying a Reggie Bush jersey. Like, that was my second team. That was my NFC team for quite some time, even up until the point where they won the Super Bowl. And I almost feel like once they won the Super Bowl, I kind of feel like I felt like I was accomplished as a Saints fan, and I kind of like left the fandom, so to speak, as like my second team, okay? But yeah, the Saints were like my second team. I loved Reggie Bush. He's my favorite college player of all time. He was part of my childhood there in USC. And then he got drafted to the Saints. And I was always a fan of Drew Brees. I always thought, as a kid, he was underrated. I saw a lot of parallels when he was with the Chargers and Brady, of course. I saw a lot of parallels between Brees and Brady, kind of like underrated guys, hardworking guys that were underdrafted. They're very similar in a way. And I think that's why they're both friends. And I think that's why you saw Brady at the end of the game, which, let me tell you, that was one of the best moments post-game I've ever seen. I'm glad it was recorded for other people to see because that's just the genuine respect between athletes. I don't think Brady and Brees are like close friends or anything, but I'm sure they're friends. I guess, they're acquaintances. Like, if they see each other, they'll hang out for a little bit, but they're not necessarily, texting each other all the time or calling each other all the time. But I just feel like they kind of have that mutual respect. And you saw that at the end of the game. You saw each other, just embrace each other. Brady moving on to the next round, Brees wishing him good luck, and then Brees onto retirement, and Brady, telling him how he feels about him and his career. And I'm sure like both of them in a way, motivated each other. And Drew Brees, he's a legend, man. I know, again, a lot of people think I hate him because I've been critical of him the last couple of years. And the fact is I have been critical of him. But a lot of that has not been on Drew Brees. A lot of that has been on the analysis of Drew Brees. I have always seen over the last couple of years the Drew Brees decline. And I'll get it into more when we talk about the game. But we saw a steady decline in Drew Brees the last 3 years. We saw the arm strength deteriorate. We saw a guy that was getting beat up by injuries, and that had to do with his age, being a little bit more fragile in the way Peyton Manning or a Brett Favre were at the end of their career, or Joe Montana at the end of their career. Drew Brees, his body was deteriorating, and he just couldn't keep up. His brain was at a level, and his body just wasn't able to match that level. His arm wasn't at that level. And even though the guy put all the work in, he put all the effort in that he ever had, whether it was 06, 09, it was the same, maybe even more so in 2020, 2019. He was trying. He was, you just saw he couldn't do it. And over the last couple of years, I was like, guys, Drew Brees, he's not the same. He's not top 5 quarterback. And everyone's saying, well, look at his this or look at this, look at completion percentage, look at touchdown to interception ratio. And I was always like, guys, it's the offense. Brees is a great distributor. He can still do that. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks of all time. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks of all time. His timing is impeccable. And even coming into this game, I said, guys, the approach of the Bucs needs to be to disrupt the timing of this offense because that's all they have. That's really all they have is the timing of Drew Brees to be able to make those throws underneath the defense. He is throwing to a spot. You legitimately saw him yesterday. He's throwing to where he believes the receiver will be, where the tight end will be. It's not like he is throwing on a line when the guy's made the cut because he knows he can make the throw. He's throwing it a split second early, and that's a result of how you get those interceptions throughout a course of the game, especially when you're playing a team, tight man-to-man coverage, all that. So it was time for Drew Brees to hang him up. But that doesn't mean, we should be looking at just this last game as his legacy. I don't believe that's his legacy. I don't believe, some people are going to look at him as one Super Bowl as underachieving with this great talent he had at the end of his career. I don't believe that to be the case. Did I ever put Drew Brees in the conversation of Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers even? No, but I think he's in the second tier of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I think what he did for New Orleans as a city is probably just as much, if not more, for any quarterback to any city that, for any athlete, period, that anyone has ever done. So for that is his legacy to me. That is his legacy of kind of taking New Orleans and pretty much putting it on his back, him and Sean Payton, and kind of creating this franchise that currently stands as one of the best, one of the most consistent, one of the elite franchises, one of the elite organizations, one of the elite businesses in pro football. And Drew Brees has an absolutely huge part of that. And I think Drew Brees also did a lot along with Sean Payton in the offense and evolving offensive football and pushing forward things, like short passing concepts, evolving play action, evolving the screen game in the NFL, doing all these things to help the product that we currently see on the NFL right now. So Drew Brees has done a lot, man. Drew Brees is an awesome quarterback. Drew Brees is one of the smartest quarterbacks ever. Drew Brees is one of the hardest working players probably ever. I can't attest to it because I've never been around him, but as from all the stories, you could just see. I mean, there's not many guys that worked harder. And to me, I'll always respect a guy that works hard at their craft, no matter what it is. Whether it's the janitor or it's the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. If they're working 100%, more than 100%, and they give everything they got, and, especially Drew Brees, who, was out of college, too small. Too small, wasn't good enough. He didn't have the greatest arm, all that stuff. You didn't think he could make it because of these things. And he even had a career where he had the Chargers, where the Chargers basically said, you can't be the guy no more. You got hurt and you're done. Like your arm, your neck. Like, I don't think you're ever going to play again. He comes back. He's better than ever in 2006. To me, just from a historic perspective throughout the course of his career, I think Drew Brees was at his best in 2009 when they won the Super Bowl. I think that's why they won the Super Bowl, because I think that is the one year that the Saints had a great team and Drew Brees was truly one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think you could definitely argue in 2009 he was the best quarterback in the league. And I'm sad that he didn't win the MVP that year, because I think he should have won the MVP that year, along with 2006, where I would say he was in the top 3 as well, along with Brady and along with Manning. So Drew Brees is a phenomenal player, phenomenal ambassador of the game, great, awesome legend. I'm just so happy I've been able to see him. I mean, I have not watched a season of football where I did not watch Drew Brees. So next year is going to be a new year for me with the New Orleans Saints, with the Chargers, whoever it may be, where he would play. And I have never played a game of Madden where Drew Brees was not on it. I mean, that's just, Drew Brees has been one of those guys for me where it's like, my childhood is ending. You know what I mean? I feel sad. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, they're all leaving me. They're all leaving me out here for you guys. Now it's on to the next era. Tony Romo's gone. Eli Manning is gone. Ben's going to be gone. I'm done, guys. All the guys, they're gone. Okay? They're gone. Drew Brees is gone. And Drew Brees wasn't the first of them. He won't be the last of them. But he was one of the best of them. So, Drew Brees, thank you for playing football. Thank you for being a great person on and off the field. And thank you for giving us great NFL moments. So, I just wanted to say that, guys. Because I know that a lot of people think I don't like Drew Brees. That's not the case. I love Drew Brees. But I gotta be within the lines. I gotta give you my takes. And it just so happens that at the end of his career, I saw something in him that a lot of people didn't see coming. So it's unfortunate. He retires with a loss. But, a lot of times that's what happens. I think that also speaks to the greatness of Drew Brees. The fact that he was able to get here with this team. And this far, a lot of times we see quarterbacks not even make it this far, not even make it to the playoffs, the way that, he was playing at the end. So that just speaks to how great he was. Thanks, Drew Brees. All right. Now let's move on to the future. Let's get to know some new head coaches in the NFL. So I have the list that just were hired over the course of the last few days, whether it was in LA, Atlanta, Detroit, or New York. We have Brandon Staley going to the LA Chargers, Arthur Smith going to the Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn going to the Detroit Lions, and Robert Saleh going to the New York Jets, guys. So before I break that down, I do want to, for the second time, remind you to Gronk spike that like button if you enjoy what you hear in here. If you enjoy this show week to week, make sure you let me know with the Gronk spike. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more NFL analysis just like this. All right. So let's start off with Brandon Staley. Okay. So Staley to the Chargers. Sec here. All right. Let me just get my notes underneath me here. Okay. So Brandon Staley will be the new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. This is the best head coach the Chargers have hired, in my opinion, since Marty Schottenheimer, maybe? It's been a while. I think this is a great hire. In fact, I think I might make a separate video on this. I think Brandon Staley, okay, might be the next great head coach in the NFL. The next great defensive mind at head coach. Now, let me tell you why this is a great fit. Some people are criticizing this move. Some people are saying, it's only been 1 year, What can he really do as a head coach? Does he have enough experience as head coach? Does he have enough in terms of the resume of a defensive coordinator? Oh, anybody could coach defense with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. Are you sure about that? Because Wade Phillips is a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. In fact, one of the best of all time, okay? He didn't coach this defense with a lot of the same talent to the same level that Brandon Staley did this season. This was the number one defense this year, the number one pass defense this year. And in part, revolutionizing the way we play defense in the NFL as well. And this is the thing that most people are saying about this move, that they should have gone after an offensive coach. They should have gone after a guy that could develop Justin Herbert, a guy that could be, Justin Herbert's best pal and make him a great quarterback. Didn't matter about the rest of the team. Just the offense needed to be good, right? Here's the thing, guys. When every team in the NFL is looking for the next Kyle Shanahan, there are going to be some bad coaches. Not everybody is going to be Sean McVay. Not everybody is going to be Kyle Shanahan. Not everybody is going to be Sean Payton. Okay? When you're always looking for the next great offensive play caller, you're not always going to get that guy. In fact, more often than not, you're not going to get that guy, especially if you're the Chargers, an organization that kind of has a reputation of not being the greatest. But what the Chargers do have is a great roster and a great up-and-coming quarterback. And here's why I like the hire. Not only is Brandon Staley probably this year's best defensive coordinator and best defensive mind that you could have hired, along with being young as well, okay? He has plenty of experience with quarterbacks, okay? According to Peter Schrager, Staley was a highly decorated quarterback in Ohio and played actually at Dayton as a quarterback and has connected with quarterbacks at Division III, Division I, and in the NFL. So not only is Staley a great offensive guy or defensive guy, but he also has an offensive mind to the defensive game. He has an approach where he could coach offense if he wanted to, but it just so happens that he was a defensive coordinator. If you play quarterback in college, you are likely going to be an offensive coordinator, an offensive coach. If you play quarterback in the NFL as a backup even and never start, like let's say Kellen Moore, great college quarterback, was nothing more than a backup in the NFL. You're likely going to be an offensive mind, an offensive coordinator, a quarterback coach, maybe a wide receiver coach, something to that degree, right? You rarely ever are a defensive coordinator, but this is why I love Brandon Staley, okay? Because a lot of times when you have the mind of an offensive player, you've played the position of quarterback, you can then flip perspectives and then take away what a quarterback wants to do. And then attack a quarterback the way that a quarterback does not want to be attacked when you know what they want to do because you were in that position. You know what it takes to be good at that position. You know what it takes to play that position. You know what's comfortable for that player. So not only does Brandon Staley have the knowledge of playing quarterback and approach it from a defensive lens because he is a great defensive play caller and schemer and defensive coordinator, but he also can relate to Justin Herbert and a quarterback and an offense, and he can oversee the entire team. He can oversee the entire vision of a team, right? So he can go into a game and say, offensively, he might not have the command of the offensive play-to-play, the offensive play calling, but he'll have the knowledge of being able to, in the meetings, be like, you know what? That play won't work versus this defense. That, this scheme this week, we should throw that out. We should focus on this week because I've seen the film, Herbert's really good at this, and we can attack this versus this defense. So in a way, Staley has the overseeing of being what it takes to be a great head coach, not just a great defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. A lot of the times with head coaches, a guy like Rex Ryan, for example. I love Rex Ryan. I think Rex Ryan's a great coach. I thought he was a great coach for the Jets. I know a lot of people don't feel the same way. It just so happened that he had to coach against Belichick twice a year, and he had to play Tom Brady in his prime. So that's unfortunate. But Rex Ryan, to me, was a great coach, but he was a one-sided coach, okay? He was all about defense. Every game plan, every detail, every aspect of the team was built through their defense. So they never really cared about their offense, and that's why they were always a game away, a play or two away, a series away from going to the Super Bowl, along with they never had a quarterback because, in part, probably, Rex Ryan didn't know what a great quarterback looked like. Am I wrong? I don't know. But you have a guy in a Rex Ryan, or let's say just an offensive-minded guy who's all about offense. And maybe you could say a guy like Mariucci was kind of like this, whereas like all offense, even I think the fault of John Gruden is this. He's all offense. Everything's about the offense. Practice is about the offense. We need to script this play versus this defense. Defense doesn't get to rep what they want to rep. John Gruden is all about score, or attack this way, not how do we defend this. With a guy like Brandon Staley, he has experience of both sides. Okay, so he understands defense, he understands offense, he understands how to game plan, and he understands how to approach that in the meeting room and on the practice field. That is very, very, very important to me when looking at head coaching candidates. There's a difference between a great coordinator and a great head coach. And I don't know Staley. I don't know him personally. Again, with all these guys, I don't know them personally. But from what people have said, he is brilliant. And from what people have said, he is also a player's coach who understands one fundamental thing about coaching. Coaching is teaching, okay? Coaching is teaching. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to tell your players what you're thinking and kind of tell them in a way that can get through. And I think that's what Brandon Staley has done very well. A lot of people, I think it's almost the same as a reverse Kyle Shanahan, right? I don't think Kyle Shanahan is the most flamboyant, charismatic coach. Sean McVay is more charismatic, but what people have said about Kyle Shanahan is his teaching, right? His teaching of plays, his teaching of concepts are great. And that's why he has a relationship with these players. And that's kind of what I see with Brandon Staley. He doesn't really look or sound or feel like a command the room leader, but he's a great teacher. And that is just as important, if not more important, than being just a big, loud voice in the locker room. Okay? That is what's more important to me. He also has a versatile, multiple defense. I've spoke about it. It's progressive. I think he's heading in the right direction of where you want to be on the defensive side of the football. He has a vision of defense that I think is very important. And he has a team now that he has pieces, right? Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Drew Tranquil, a lot of guys, a lot of talent on this roster on the Chargers defense that I think has been misused, underutilized, or just strictly not versatile enough, not multiple enough. I believe to be a great defense, you need to be multiple. You need to be just totally different. You need to be able to play an offense this way and then an offense that way. You can't come out in the same defense constantly over and over again because good offenses, good quarterbacks are going to be able to pick you apart. Staley has learned that you have to be multiple. So I love that. He has elevated defenses, right? He has elevated players. He has made Jalen Ramsey what he should have been in Jacksonville, okay? He made Aaron Donald at the best Aaron Donald could be, right? We've seen Aaron Donald be great, but you need that guy, that defensive coordinator that makes those great players even greater. Or he's made a guy that, he was okay, like John Johnson, okay? He was okay, but now he's really good. So he's made these guys better, right? He's elevated talent. And perhaps the biggest key to this hire, in my opinion, is who do the Chargers have to beat? The Kansas City Chiefs, okay? They have to beat Mahomes. They have to beat the Chiefs. So you could have hired the best offensive mind out there. Were they going to be better than Andy Reid? No. I'm sorry. The likeliness of that is very slim, okay? But if you get a guy like Brandon Staley, who's playing defense in a revolutionary, progressive manner that is pretty much built to stop a Mahomesian-like offense, he takes away deep passes. Okay, that's his fundamental number one thing. You now have a defensive coach that's capable of scheming against the Chiefs. So that, maybe more than anything, is great because if the Chargers want to win this division, they got to go through the Chiefs. So I love this hire. Like, this is a perfect hire to me. You know, a lot of people are going to say Brian Daboll. I love Brian Daboll. I think he's an excellent coach. But I don't think he was the best fit for the Chargers. I think Brandon Staley was. And I think they made a brilliant move here. And I'm going to be backing it all next year and throughout the offseason. So that was my favorite hire for sure. I love that one. All right. Next, we have Arthur Smith. All right. Arthur Smith. So I know Ultra is going to be excited about this one. Okay. Arthur Smith has been hired by the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm a big fan of Arthur Smith, and I have been for the last couple of years as the Titans offensive coordinator. I think Arthur Smith has done a lot of great things that have made him a great candidate for the Atlanta Falcons job. He has been with the Tennessee Titans since 2011. In that time, he has worked with a multitude of positions, including the offensive line, the tight end group, and of course, Ryan Tannehill's development as a quarterback. I think the biggest thing you could say about Arthur Smith is how much he got out of Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill in Miami under another offensive coach in Adam Gase, like him or not, he was an offensive guy, a quarterback coach, a quarterback whisperer, whatever you want to call him. Arthur Smith elevated Ryan Tannehill in his system with his coaching, with his teaching. Adam Gase, maybe he suppressed him, or maybe he couldn't get the best out of him, or whatever you want to say. Tannehill was much better in Tennessee, and a lot of that has to do with Arthur Smith. Secondly, the offensive line was a lot better with Arthur Smith. This offensive line is the reason, a huge reason, Derrick Henry is looked at as an elite running back, as the best running back in football. The Titans' offense is looked at as a balanced attack, and they run people over, they're aggressive, they're physical, all that stuff. When you look at the Titans' offensive line, man for man, they're not one of the most talented offensive lines. But with Arthur Smith's scheme, he makes them much better than what they are, and he has for the last 2 years. So he's elevated the two most important positions you could argue within an offensive success, and that is an offensive line, which is crucial to the running game, and a quarterback, which is crucial to the passing game. Right? So you could argue that Arthur Smith has impacted both of those things. I like Arthur Smith because he is a guy that has had plenty, right, throughout his life. If you guys don't know this, the guy is rich. Like, he is a billionaire. Arthur Smith's dad is the founder of FedEx, okay? So this is why I like Arthur Smith, because the guy is rich, but he does not act like it. He is very humble, okay? He comes from a family that business-wise is upper echelon, right? He could go out there and feel like he has got the world by you know what, right? He is, a lot of people in this position act like everything in their lives, it's theirs, right? But with Arthur Smith, he never once brought that up with Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel didn't even know that until like 4 months in. You know, Mike Munchak didn't even know that when he was hired, that his dad was the founder of FedEx. He didn't even know that this guy, he doesn't act like it, he doesn't dress like it, he doesn't talk like it, he doesn't have the attitude of a stuck-up person, right? Or a person that feels everything is theirs to be had, okay? So that's what I love about Arthur Smith. Not only is he a good football mind, but he also, I feel, can relate to players, and he is kind of just a humble person. And that's a good thing in a head coach. And the thing I also love about that background is that he has the knowledge of not just football, but he also has the knowledge of business. And I think that's very important when you're a head coach, to learn, you know, cap situations and to learn to snatch a player in the draft, or, you know, just in terms of, he's probably learned a lot from his dad. Like, let's be fair, let's be honest. He's probably learned a lot about business with his conversations with his father. And he probably knows a lot about the inner workings of a great organization and the inner workings of a great franchise, the inner workings of a culture that you want to build, right? So to me, that's all extremely important as a head coach, because Atlanta kind of needs a reshaping of their culture, because their culture since 2016, since Tom Brady absolutely demolished their hopes, has been their chokers. They're 28-3 artists. We are going to choke every fourth quarter. But with Arthur Smith, he is going to have the knowledge, the experience, and just the overall intelligence to be able to reshape that culture. And that to me is very important, along with what he can do on the field and in, the meeting rooms as a schemer. I also love him in terms of his offensive approach. I really like his offense. I don't think he is like a top 5 play caller, but he's just underneath that. I think he's great with his play action game, which is essential to a great offense in today's NFL. He's excellent in play action. He's great in the running game. He understands explosive offense, right? The Titans maybe are not the best offense in the league, but they've been one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And I think a lot of that has to do with the scheme that they had under Arthur Smith. And when you look at Matt Ryan and look at the pieces that they already have in Atlanta, I think he'll be able to probably elevate that offensive line and create a very good offense. And he's going to be the best offensive coach they've had since Shanahan left. And he's going to be able to get the best out of Matt Ryan if they keep him that any coach has in quite some time, because Matt Ryan, we saw in 2016 when he won the MVP, was a play action guy, right? He was a play action quarterback. A lot of his success came off play action. I think Matt Ryan, just as good as Ryan Tannehill. He's getting a little bit older, but he's just in that category. And he's definitely a better pocket passer. So you're going to get a lot out of Matt Ryan. You got better weapons. You got Ridley. You got Julio. So you already have, right? I believe in quarterback. I believe in receivers. I think those are fundamental to success. And you already have that in Atlanta. So that's going to be huge for Arthur Smith. He's got to figure out who's his defensive coach. Who's that guy? I think he's been looking around for Dean Pease or so on down the list. But as long as he can get a defensive guy to come in that's good, solid, and work on that defense, and they draft defense, I think they'll be good. I think they'll be good next year. I really like this hire. I think he's far better than Dan Quinn, in my opinion. I like his schemes a lot better. So, yeah, I'm excited for Atlanta next year. I think the future is bright with Arthur Smith. I really like the hire. Not my favorite, but it's probably my second favorite. So Arthur Smith to Atlanta. I like it. Next. Dan Quinn to the Lions. All right. Or not Dan Quinn, Dan Campbell. My bad. Okay. Dan Quinn went to the Cowboys, right? Just wait till the Cowboys fans get a taste of the 28-3. That's gonna be fun. All right. Dan Campbell has been hired by the Detroit Lions. Yesterday, we found out that the New Orleans Saints took the L to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But today, the Detroit Lions are looking at a new future. They are looking at a tougher future. They are looking at a grittier future. They are looking at an old school head coach. They are looking at a guy that is going to come in and change the culture of Detroit. They are getting as far away from Matt Patricia as humanly possible, okay? Campbell played in Detroit. This is a huge reason I like this hire. I like this hire. A lot of people are saying, he's a tight end coach. What does this guy know? What does this guy do? No, he was a tight end coach and an assistant to the head coach. Okay, that's very important. He wasn't just the tight end coach. Plus, he also had experience as a head coach. He was the head coach in 2015 with the Miami Dolphins. He was the intern in 2015. He went 5-7 during that time. Not bad, considering the roster, the team that he had at that time. It's not bad, okay? But he has experience there. And he's learned a lot since then, right? That was in 2015. That was 4 or 5 years ago. So he has grown since then. He has grown under one of the game's best head coaches. He's learned under Sean Payton. And I don't think you could learn under anybody in the NFL offensive football better than you could learn from Sean Payton. Let's be honest, okay? Sean Payton is the man. So, Dan Campbell, to be able to learn from him, his process, his offense, his scheme, learn from his practices, learn from his culture, learn from everything that Sean Payton does is very, 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 very interesting, and I think gives him a chance to be a good head coach. I think Campbell brings, like I said, a command. You look at this guy, he's an old school, you just look at him, he's tough, he's a football player. He looks like he played in the NFL. He did play in the NFL. He played many years in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl with the Saints, I believe. He played with Detroit. He caught a few touchdowns in Detroit, actually. And I think it's important that he played in Detroit because he understands where the organization has been, what they're like, what the problems are. I think all those things are absolutely big for hiring a guy in Detroit specifically. When you hire a guy in Detroit or you hire a guy in Cleveland, I think if the guy played there or coached there, it's definitely, to me, just a plus because you understand how bad the team has been in the past or how bad or how poorly some of these things, the process has been, the culture has been. And just to be able to go through that and then see it in Miami and see it in New Orleans specifically, see it in Dallas as well, I believe. He was there with Parcells, I think. Those things are all interesting. I think those are all pluses to me. So again, guys, he was an assistant to the head coach. So that's a bigger deal than just being a tight end coach. He had influence over offensive plans, most likely, especially probably the running game or the tight ends. I'm sure that he had some sort of role to do with motivating players because that's kind of what he is, right? When you watch the guy speak, he has an energy, he has a leadership, he has a command. I think he reminds me a lot of Mike Vrabel, to be honest. I think what Detroit is getting is like a Mike Vrabel-esque coach. Like a guy that's tough, a guy that players can relate to, a guy that might not be the best schemer in the world, but he's going to bring a culture, he's going to bring, just a different voice and a totally different perspective and totally different personality than what they had in Matt Patricia. Everything with Matt Patricia just seemed like the players just couldn't relate to the guy. Like it was just, Patricia was here on things and the players were here, the organization was here and Patricia was there. So I think Campbell, as long as, and I also really like the GM hire for Detroit. So I think that's a plus as long as they can get, on the same page. I think those things are good. So Campbell is a guy that I don't necessarily know how it will work. I'm hoping it works. I think there's a lot of positives to the hire, and I think it's actually an underrated hire. I don't think we should be sitting here and saying, just because he was a tight end coach in title, that it's a bad hire. Look at Joe Judge, right? Everybody made fun of Joe Judge last year, and everybody's praising him now. So hold your horses on that stuff. Just see what he has to offer. I think he's bringing something that is much needed in Detroit. He's changing the culture. That's a big deal. All right. Next, we have Robert Saleh to the Jets. Okay. Robert Saleh has been hired by the New York Jets. 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 A new era. No more Adam Gase. Thank God. No more Adam Gase. I mean, I'm a Patriots fan, and I didn't even like seeing Adam Gase in New York. I just couldn't take one more press conference. One more facial expression. One more eye roll. I couldn't take it. Adam Gase is gone. Robert Saleh is in. What does Saleh bring to an organization that is good? Okay. He is the absolute opposite of Adam Gase. The absolute opposite. Okay? Adam Gase kind of looks like, the nerdy kid in the class. Saleh looks like he's been in the gym for the last 6 hours. Robert Saleh looks like a football player, all right? Robert Saleh looks like a guy that could lead a group of people. And in fact, He does, according to his players, right? He's a guy that has built his reputation off being a player's coach, of being a leader, of being a vocal leader. A lot of people don't like his antics on the sidelines. A lot of people don't like how loud he is. But a lot of people also say he's kind of reserved. Like he's not out there. He's not kind of like in your face in terms of in person because, Richard Sherman has been his number one advocate. Robert Saleh hasn't really said anything. He's been kind of quiet. As Sports Today says, he is Detroit born. So, he's been in Detroit. He grew up there. I think he coached at a couple different schools in Michigan. He coached in multiple organizations, Houston, Seattle, San Francisco. I think all of those places, good cultures that he's learned from. Of course, he was a football player himself. And again, I think when your two advocates are Kyle Shanahan and Richard Sherman, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Okay, if Kyle Shanahan thinks he's good enough to be his defensive coach, he's probably pretty good. And if Richard Sherman thinks he's pretty good at coaching defense, then he's probably pretty good. So while I have my opinion on his scheme, which is the Seattle-based defensive scheme, I think it is kind of dying. I think it's a dying scheme in the NFL. I think a lot of teams that use it aren't very good on defense anymore. I think it's a defense that is leaving the NFL very shortly. But I don't think that's why you hire Robert Saleh, even though he's done a good job on defense the last 2 years. Schematically, Richard Sherman speaks highly of him. I don't think that is why you're hiring him. I think you're hiring him because of his leadership. I think you're hiring him to a lot of the same reasons you would hire a Mike Tomlin. I think they have a lot of similarities. And I always try to kind of give a comp, for these guys. I think I see a lot of Mike Tomlin in Robert Saleh. Not the greatest schematic coach, but I think a guy that these players will fight for, play hard for. And he has also been able to get the best out of players that are backups, second, third strings. Guys that have, this year, they dealt a lot with injuries. You had backup, third string defensive ends, backup linebackers, backup corners, backup safeties. He was able to get still a good unit on the field week to week and get through a lot of different stuff. So the only problem I have with this hire is that it is, in fact, a defensive-minded guy, because I think it's hard to get a defensive-minded guy that is better than the ones that they already have in the AFC East. I mean, you're talking about the best defensive coach ever in New England. You're talking about Brian Flores in Miami and Sean McDermott in Buffalo. So this is going to be probably the best defensive division in the NFL. And it's been in the past, and it will be, probably here in the future because of these coaches and the way they approach the game and the way that they see the game, the perspective they see it. But that is like my only problem with the hire. Like, I think it's a solid hire. It's not my favorite. But I think it's a solid hire. One last thing to mention about this hire is that I think it had a lot of personal connection for Robert Saleh. I believe I don't know the full story, so I don't want to go into detail. But his brother was involved in 9/11, and he was hurt, pretty badly in that whole thing. And Robert Saleh, I think, has a personal connection or feeling towards New York. And I think that's part of the reason that he was hired, or not hired, but why he wanted to go to the Jets. So, yeah, that's something to dive into if you're interested about it. But I did want to bring it up because I do think that's an interesting angle towards his connection to the city, because I know New Yorkers care about that. Okay, so there you go. All right, so those are my thoughts on each coaching candidate and guy that has been hired over the past weekend's time. I went over all of them. If you haven't already seen, or if you weren't here earlier for the full thoughts on every single person, I'm going to be posting each one of those as a separate video so that you can go back and check it out and kind of my reaction to it. So I'll post that as a separate video. Now, I do have one last thing to talk about. That's Robert Saleh. I do have one last thing to talk about, and that's just the Eagles coaching search. So there is one team out there right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, that is still in the process of hiring a coach, as well as the Houston Texans. They're out there trying to hire their coach. But the Eagles kind of caught my eye. Why? Josh McDaniels. Okay? I love Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels has been my guy. The offensive coach, the OC of Tom Brady, the Patriots, this dynasty. And he's worked with Cam Newton now. He worked with, of course, he was a head coach in Denver for a season or two seasons, I believe. And he was the coach with Matt Castle, Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy Garoppolo, all of those guys. He is the main candidate in Philadelphia. I also found it interesting that the other guy that is the main candidate is Todd Bowles, who's also my guy in Tampa Bay. So whoever Philadelphia gets, I'm going to be excited. Okay, I'm going to be a fan of the Eagles next year because I like both of those guys. I think they're good dudes, and I think they're good football coaches. I think Todd Bowles just had a great performance yesterday. His defense played well, and I think he's the best coach on that staff. From a schematic perspective, Todd Bowles is the best coach on Tampa Bay. I think it would be a significant loss in Tom Brady's last season if they lost Todd Bowles as their defensive coordinator next year, because I think he is a very good coach. We'll see what he does in this NFC Championship, but I think he's a very good coach. I saw him as the Jets coach for a couple years. I thought he got a bad run at it because he never had a quarterback. He didn't have a lot of talent, to be quite honest with you. And of course, again, people keep saying, the AFC sucked. That's not actually the case. In fact, they won a lot of games, the most in the NFL throughout the period of 2002 to 2019. But they played Tom Brady, so of course all the other teams sucked, all right? But I think Todd Bowles, if he goes somewhere else, he'll be successful as long as he can get a good OC around him on the other side of the ball, and he sees eye to eye with the GM. I think Todd Bowles deserves another chance. Now, for Josh McDaniels, I think that is the real hire that for Philadelphia if they're going to hire somebody, because I think that's the best hire for Hurst, okay? I think that's the best hire for Jalen Hurts. I just think that what Josh McDaniels could do for him as a quarterback, as a young player, and for that offense would be astronomical. I think he would take Jalen Hurts from a pretty good young quarterback to one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL next year. Now, I don't know if they want to stick with Carson Wentz. I don't think Carson Wentz and Josh McDaniels would work. That's just my personal opinion. Just the way, I don't know Carson Wentz, but I just feel like Carson Wentz is just not a guy that I would want. I just, straight up, he just feels like a guy that mentally, I've seen it the last couple of years. He's just not that smart of a quarterback. I don't think he would be able to operate the Patriot Josh McDaniels offense. I quite honestly don't think he would be able to at a high elite level. And then I don't think he could fix Carson Wentz. I don't think McDaniels, for as good of a coach as he is, I don't think he could fix him. I think he has a lot of mental problems in terms of confidence. I think that's his biggest issue. I think his biggest issue is confidence. I think his biggest issue is the intelligence, football IQ, and I think his biggest issue is he's I don't know what the word is. He's fragile, maybe. I don't want to be harsh on the guy, but I just feel like he's not good with the whole tough coaching. And I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to be an easy coach for anybody. He comes from the Belichick tree. I don't think that's going to be easy. Okay, I don't think McDaniels is going to be soft on a Carson Wentz. But a guy that, is from Alabama initially, I think would be able to take the coaching of Josh McDaniels at quarterback, along with the offense already having a really good offensive line, a dynamic running back, an excellent tight end. I mean, Dallas Goedert would be an elite tight end next year if Josh McDaniels were the coach. They have solid receivers, at least better than New England. He would probably bring in a pretty good defensive coordinator. They got plenty of experience and leadership on that side of the ball. I would hire Josh McDaniels if I was Philadelphia. And I'm happy that he is the main candidate because for whatever reason, he's been lost in the shuffle. Now, in terms of the big elephant in the room, Eric Bieniemy. A lot of Eagles fans wanted Eric Bieniemy. And it is really interesting and kind of troubling to me why he hasn't gotten an interview from the Eagles. I am not like the biggest Eric Bieniemy guy. There are a lot of bigger fans of him than me. But for you to be successful with Andy Reid and with Doug Peterson, you know, they took you to a Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl. I just don't understand why you didn't at least interview him. Like, it doesn't appear that you're going to interview him. So that's interesting. I really don't know why, but yeah, I find that really interesting. Maybe they just want to get away from that. Maybe they want to get away from the Doug Peterson whole, you know, Doug Peterson, Andy Reid, that whole thing, the way they see the game, the way they envision the game. So maybe they want to get away with that. Maybe they want to go with something different. Maybe that's why. But I don't really know. All right. He's back, baby. He is back. Vita Vea is back. He might be ready to go on Sunday to play the Green Bay Packers. Vita Vea, guys, I've been talking week in and week out, basically. If Vita Vea, I've been saying, if Vita Vea were on the field for the Bucs, this takes this defense from being good to really freaking good. Vita Vea, when he was in the lineup for Tampa's defense, they were really freaking, they might have been the best defense in the NFL when Vita Vea was playing through the first, 5 to 6 games. They were phenomenal. He is awesome, guys. A lot of people don't know how good Vita Vea is. Like, he's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He is the best nose tackle in the NFL, okay? He's not the best D tackle. He's not the best interior defensive lineman. That's Aaron Donald, okay? There's Chris Jones is good. But Vita Vea is the best nose tackle, the best space eater. He is one of the best power rushers in the NFL. In fact, he ranked as the third best interior pass rusher through the first 6 weeks. And he ranked as the second best interior defensive lineman through the first 6 weeks. That's how good Vita Vea is, okay? He's only worse than Aaron Donald. That's it, okay? That's how good he is. And now he might be back. With him in the lineup, you legitimately can't run. Like, the Bucs are the number 1 run defense without Vita Vea. They're like the number 0 run defense with Vita Vea. Like, you're running for negative yards if Vita Vea is in the lineup. And then he has an impact. I think his biggest impact is in the pass rushing game, because he takes up so much space and he pushes the pocket. And that allows, right? So with Vita Vea, you have to double team him. You have to double team him. And then that singles up more often Shaq Barrett, JPP, and Ndamukong Suh, right? That takes just a huge load off the shoulders of Ndamukong Suh. Now Suh can be the guy that gets one-on-ones. Now Suh, who's been unreal this year, can be the guy that is eaten, right? Vita Vea he pushes those interior linemen back into the lap of a quarterback, and then you got that edge pressure coming off from those two awesome players on the edge for Tampa. So this is an absolute game changer if he is ready to go on Sunday. Now, he might not be. He's designated to return to practice on Wednesday. So we'll see what happens. He's been practicing. He's been getting in shape. All signs point to he is going to be back, if not for this weekend. If they make it to the Super Bowl, he will for sure be back. But he has a chance to play on Sunday, and that would change the complexion of not just this game, but potentially who wins the Super Bowl, guys. Like, that's how good this guy is. I'm not lying. So, Vita Vea to the Bucs. And I didn't think that, like, when I saw this news, I was like, what? Really? Really? So, yeah, that's cool. I think that's cool because when you look at it, like the Packers, they lost David Bakhtiari. The Bucs also lost O.J. Howard. But like the Packers are without one of their best players. Tampa was out without Vita Vea, one of their best players. The Chiefs are really missing nobody, I don't think. Maybe Mitchell Schwartz is still out. And you got Buffalo, I don't think's missing anybody. So I want everybody as close to healthy as possible. All right, so the main part of the show, I want to review these games from Divisional weekend. So let's start with the first game, which was on Saturday, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Green Bay Packers. I mentioned Brandon Staley has left to the Chargers. He's now the new head coach of the LA Chargers. I love the hire. The Rams will be without him moving forward as their defensive coach, as their defensive coordinator. And I thought this was his worst performance all year. Some of it had to do with Aaron Donald being hurt. Some of it had to do with Aaron Rodgers, of course. A lot of it had to do with that. But I thought this was his worst plan all year. I didn't really understand the plan that Staley brought into this game. I understand that he wanted to take away the deep ball. He wanted to play the way they play. And, of course, we know Brandon Staley kind of allows you to run the ball. Here's the thing. Brandon Staley plays a lot of light boxes, right? He plays a lot of safeties. He plays a lot of DBs. He plays a lot of corners. So he kind of allows you, if you want to run the ball, run the ball. In fact, I can prove this with stats, right? 174 yards for the Packers rushing the football. They had 188 in the game, guys. 188. 174 of them were versus light boxes. So that's 7 or fewer defenders in the box. Typically, the box is full of 8 defenders a lot of the times, So the Packers basically, their offensive approach was, if they're in a light box, which typically they are, we are going to run the ball. And the problem with this for the Rams this week was their defensive line was not able to win. And this is why guys like Vita Vea are crucial to the NFL right now. Because if you do not play a defense where you have 8 guys in the box constantly, if you do not play a defense where your strong safety is always in the box, you have 3 linebackers on the field, all that stuff, you need your defensive line to win at the line of scrimmage. Aaron Donald was out, right, for a lot of this game. He did not play his normal snaps. He was on the sidelines a lot, especially on early downs. And when Aaron Donald was not out there, the Packers basically just ran the ball, and they ran the ball well. They ran the ball effectively. And Brandon Staley, because he didn't play without Aaron Donald all year. So he didn't really know what it was going to be like with the rest of the D-line, and they got kind of ate up more than typical with their light box approach because he's used to having Aaron Donald there to eat up 2 blockers or to make a play in the backfield or to just cause overall, pressure for an offensive rushing attack and offense in general and attention. So I think that is part of the reason the Rams defense underperformed, because when they played light boxes and they didn't have Aaron Donald, the Packers were able to run the ball. Well, I feel like if Aaron Donald were playing and they still played light boxes, they would have been able to do a better job of defending the run. So I think Aaron Donald being hurt was absolutely a bigger deal than people make it out to be. And that, in fact, totally changed the way the Rams had to play defense, and they just were not able to adjust. So I was disappointed, and they got no pressure. When the Packers dropped back to throw, Aaron Rodgers had all day. He had all day to throw. He was in the pocket, looking left, looking right, sipping a coffee, getting a donut, whatever it may be. Aaron Rodgers had all day. And versus any great quarterback, he's going to make you pay, especially Aaron Rodgers, who Aaron Rodgers can avoid rushers. He can, buy an extra second or two on his own. So you can't already afford him extra time to throw the ball. And the Rams did. They didn't get after him. They sent 4 all game. It wasn't really working. They couldn't get to him. Their edge rushers underperformed. We didn't really see Leonard Floyd come up big like we thought we might. These extra guys like Fox, Joseph Day. We didn't see Brockers have a good game. All these guys didn't play well. They all didn't play well. The Packers' offensive line, interior especially, is very good. They blocked them up. They protected Rodgers. They didn't really send many extra guys in there to block. The Packers just protected Rodgers really well. And when you protect Rodgers really well, he's going to eat you apart. I don't care if you have Jalen Ramsey. I don't care who you have, okay? Especially when you're playing deep. You're not allowing those deep throws. Rodgers is a smart enough quarterback and he has enough patience, and he has a rhythm, especially at Lambeau, man. That stuff, it keeps rolling like a friggin' snowball, okay? It's like when Rodgers gets going, when he gets a rhythm, he's nearly unstoppable. He, throw to the flat here. I am just amazed by the Rams' game plan to not disrupt rhythm, to not disrupt talent, to not disrupt timing with the people around Aaron Rodgers. And this is something that I think is crucial to the NFC Championship game for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay cannot go into the game hoping to beat Aaron Rodgers. You need to hope to beat the players around Aaron Rodgers. That's the thing that the Rams did not do successfully. And that is why they did not have a chance to win this game. Their offense played well. The Rams' offense played pretty well. They weren't great, but they played about as well as we thought, right? We thought that if the Rams have 18 to 24 points, they got a chance because their defense is going to keep the Packers low score because we said, Rams defense all year, number 1 unit, best unit in the league. Rodgers picks them apart. Rodgers does a great job because they are not able to create pressure and because the other team does not disrupt timing. And Jared Goff, credit to Jared Goff. He played well. I thought he made a number of nice throws, some big throws, right? I thought he made some even third down conversions. I thought Cam Akers ran it well, 5 yards a carry, right? I thought Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark, those two guys were really the big playmakers on Green Bay's defense. When they needed a sack or a play to just close this game out, Rashawn Gary, who not a lot of people talk about, played really well. And Kenny Clark played probably his best pass rushing game all year. Kenny Clark has not been as good this year as he was last year. And he played really well in this game. He showed up when he needed to. So, and the thing is, Davante Adams and Jalen Ramsey didn't even materialize in this game. It really didn't even happen that much. It happened on a handful of snaps. But the Rams, I don't understand their approach in this game defensively. Like, I love Brandon Staley. Again, guy, I love this guy. But he did not have a good plan, and I'm just amazed that they did not just put Jalen Ramsey on Davante Adams, or they, and they took a lot of time. He tried to adjust at the end. He started sending pressures, started sending blitzes. They started to get a little pressure on him, a little pressure on Aaron Rodgers, but it was just a little bit too late, and Rodgers was already in, the groove. So, yeah, this was a game that I thought it could be, but I didn't necessarily think it would be. So, I will say this. I underestimated Green Bay's ability to block the Rams' front. I also didn't think Aaron Donald would be as hurt as he was. I thought Aaron Donald would play a lot more than he did. He did not play a lot. I thought he would play more. I thought he'd have a more significant impact on this game. I was wrong. I thought Staley would have a better approach to stopping the Packers. They did not. But credit where credit is due. Matt LaFleur was great. He outwitted the other coach. Okay? He is phenomenal in the red zone, man. That one play that they had to Davante Adams, there is a reason that Davante Adams led the NFL in touchdowns. Not just because he's one of the best receivers in the game, but Matt LaFleur. Right? There's a reason that Aaron Rodgers led the NFL in passing touchdowns, not just because he's the MVP, but because Matt LaFleur's play calling, right? With Mike McCarthy, was Aaron Rodgers doing that the last couple years? No, not necessarily. So Matt LaFleur has done a great job of elevating those guys, especially where it matters. And I think I have to give Matt LaFleur credit because early in the game, when I was watching the game, they were running the ball a lot. And I was like, I don't know if that's the right approach. I don't know if Matt LaFleur should be really running that much. Like, I would put the hands in Aaron Rodgers. Put the ball in the hands of Aaron Rodgers. This is his team. He's the MVP. Like, you got to pass on early downs to be successful. You got to get first down and 2 downs, or you got to have third and manageable. And it didn't matter. Like, they were picking it up on the ground. They were being successful on the ground. So, in a lot of ways, was Aaron Rodgers great in this game? Absolutely. Played great. But Matt LaFleur, give him credit for his ability to say, you know what, Aaron? You're gonna be good when you need to be good. Step up when we need you to, but this is Aaron Jones today. This is Jamal Williams today. This is A.J. Dillon today. Because when we see those light boxes and those 2 deep safeties on first down, on second down, we're going to run it. So I give Matt LaFleur a ton of credit for out-scheming and out-play calling and just out-preparing Brandon Staley. He out-coached him, in my opinion. And I haven't always been a Matt LaFleur guy, but he's proven me wrong. He's been great. So, yeah, credit to the Packers. They showed a complete performance. They passed the ball when they needed to. They run the ball when they needed to. Their offense didn't seem like they were playing the best defense in the league. Their defense was okay, but they made the stops when they needed to. The Rams moved the ball more than I thought, but when they needed to make the stops, they did. And they won decisively, which I didn't think they would do. I thought the Rams would be in a closer game than they were. It was a 1-score game at one point, but you just felt like the Packers had full control. It just felt like that the whole time. So, congratulations to the Packers. They are moving to the NFC Championship. They will play at home in the NFC Championship game. All right. Next, the Saturday Nighter. We did the live stream, the live commentary for this. The Baltimore Ravens at the Buffalo Bills. This was one of the most anticipated games of the week, especially for myself. This game was really interesting. It didn't really play out the way I thought it would, although the team won that I thought would win. But it was a weird kind of game. Both kickers kind of sucked. Justin Tucker appeared human in this game. He had 2 double doinks, right? And both quarterbacks weren't great either. I love Josh Allen. I love Lamar Jackson. 2 of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. Neither of them played particularly well. Both defenses actually were better than the offenses in this game. The Ravens defense, I think, caused some issues for Buffalo's offense, specifically with their blitz packages and their pressure packages. I thought Don Martindale did a great job in this game, and he did enough for his team to win on that side of the ball. You're not going to keep the Bills to 10 points many times. And again, guys, it was 10 points that the Bills scored on offense. 7 of it came from the defense. It was bad weather, but I think we learned some things about this game that could help and could hurt the Bills heading into the AFC Championship game. Their lack of balance is becoming a little concerning. I understand they played the Ravens, and that's not the approach you want to take, but I do feel like versus the Chiefs, you do want to maintain some balance in that game. We'll see how that goes over. And Stephon Diggs, again, was amazing. I thought John Brown stepped up, played a great game. Cole Beasley didn't do anything in this game, which was disappointing. Allen made some throws, but again, he was just a little off. The wind caused him to be a little off. He missed a couple deep shots where he typically would have had it. A couple times he would have had the throw that But I just felt like the Ravens, they played better man-to-man coverage than I thought they would. Like, they did a great job in this game. The Ravens' defense was awesome. And on the flip side, early in the game, the first half especially, it felt like the Ravens were the better team. You know, they ran the ball. They were in position for a couple field goals, but they missed them. It just felt like they had the overall control of the game, and it even appeared that they would win the game until the pick six. Like, until the pick six happened, we thought, you know, maybe the Ravens were going to win, or at least it was a one-score game, and it was possible, right? But that was a huge game changer. Johnson jumping the route of Lamar and taking it to the house was the game. That was the game, and the difference between the two teams. And I think a lot of times when we look at winners and losers in the playoffs, we overreact to the winner, we overreact to the loser. But in fact, these two teams were very close. I think the difference between the two teams was the Bills had more weapons than the Ravens. That was the difference to me. You know, the Bills had a Stephon Diggs. The Ravens did not. The Ravens, Marquise Brown played okay. He had, I think, 80 yards. But they need a number one receiver. That is their number one issue. I think a lot of people are looking at this, Lamar this, Lamar that, posting Lamar stats in the playoffs. What do you want him to do when everyone knows you don't have any weapons on the outside? Nobody's scared of their weapons, right? He is the offense. Again, you need to stop Lamar, you stop the Ravens. The Bills had a great game plan. I thought Sean McDermott had just about as good of a game plan versus Lamar as I've seen. He blitzed a lot off the edge. You know, corners were making tackles, safeties were making tackles in the box. Jerry Hughes had a huge game. He had 2 sacks. So I think I learned a lot from this game. I think we basically saw the flaws of the Ravens that we've seen all year kind of hit the peak, which is not enough weapons for Lamar. They need an alpha number one receiver. That is their number one priority in the offseason. They need a more layered passing attack. And for the Bills, I think we saw that if they do lose, it's going to be in fact that they do not have the balance on offense. And they need a little bit more from their rushing attack. They need a little bit more. And maybe the team that beats them will be able to blitz them. Maybe. That's what the Ravens did, at least. So, that was a really interesting game. That's what I saw from it. And, you know, either way, I was going to be happy for who won. But the Buffalo Bills advanced, and they will take on the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship. My preseason AFC Championship game. And it's going to be a good one. Now, let's talk about those Chiefs. So, the Browns versus Kansas City. And I was cheering for the Browns on the stream. I was cheering for the Browns live. But I'll say this. I am relieved that the Chiefs won because the better team won. And to be quite honest with you, I would not have been able to take Chiefs fans for the next year if they would have lost without Patrick Mahomes. So I am so thankful that Chad Henne clutched up and won that game. Because if the Chiefs would have lost without Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs' kingdom would have been absolutely horrific. I mean, it would have been, oh, we should have won the Super Bowl if Mahomes was healthy and nobody would have stopped us and this and that and the other. But now we actually get to find out who the best team is. Because let's be honest. The Browns, even if they won, they were not beating the Bills. And even if they won, they were not going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. Let's just be fair, okay? And that's not to say Browns suck. That's not to say the Browns had no chance. I'm just saying the Browns were not as good as the Chiefs. Why? Well, the Chiefs were up 19-3 when Mahomes was in the game, okay? The Chiefs were winning 19-3 when Mahomes was in the game, and their offense was unstoppable. They did not get stopped once by Cleveland's defense when Mahomes was in the game. Not once. They had a field goal or a touchdown every time, every drive that he was in the game. Hill, Kelsey did whatever they wanted to. They ran the ball when they wanted to. They passed the ball when they wanted to. They ran trick plays when they wanted to. It was just like Something I noticed about this game, there were a lot of penalties in this game, more than I noticed in other games. There were a lot of holding calls. Actually, there were a lot in the Bucs game and the Saints game too, but in this game especially, there were a lot of holding and like just reffing decisions. Of course, the big one that we're going to talk about is the helmet-to-helmet fumble touchback that would have been a touchdown for the Browns, or at least they would have had the ball at the 1-yard line if Higgins were not fumbling into the end zone. Now, this is where I stand. I like that rule, okay? The reason I like that rule is because it follows the rest of the rules in football. If you punt the ball the end zone, it's a touchback, right? So it makes sense. I understand why you would not like the rule because you like offense and you like points. I understand why it's kind of a dumb rule, but just imagine if we got rid of that rule and teams every time they were near the sidelines just throw the ball out of bounds and they get the ball where they got it. At a certain point, we need some rules in the favor of a defense, okay? Every other rule is in the favor of an offense. I would like to see that rule, or a couple rules in favor of the defense. So I don't hate that rule. But it was incredibly frustrating watching it, knowing that the Browns should have been closer in the game because they shouldn't have fumbled there. Now, that's situational awareness by Higgins. Higgins shouldn't have fumbled. Higgins should have known not to reach for that, okay? They should have been fine with taking it at the 1-yard line, eating up more time, and then Mahomes isn't able to get back on the field. The Browns should have known what their strategy was regardless. So, Higgins was at fault. Higgins knows the rule, okay? And he did a bad job of protecting the football on that play. Were the Browns unlucky? Totally, 100%. But that is the details in football that you need to be aware of. The biggest, my voice crack, my freaking voice, man. The biggest lesson I learned from this game was the Chiefs' defense is underrated. The Chiefs' defense, again, guys, I've been talking about it all year. I understand statistically they're not the best, but every time the Chiefs have a big game, their defense stops what you do best, or they play a good game. Okay? If the Chiefs' defense sucked, they would have lost this game. The Browns had basically 2 full quarters versus Chad Henne to win this game. And the Chiefs' defense, when they needed to, played well enough to win. They made plays. Tyrann Mathieu made a huge play. They stopped the Browns when they needed to. They forced the Browns to punt when they needed to. The Chiefs' defense does not get enough respect. They are a solid defense, and they are a clutch unit, and they need more respect. So to me, the Chiefs' defense, not the Browns' fumble, not Chad Henne, not Mahomes' injury, is the story of this game. The Chiefs' defense won this game. They played a top 10 offense, maybe top 5 offense, and they won without the best player in the NFL, arguably. So, that's extremely impressive. I think they win this game by 17 with Mahomes. I think they win this game by 17 to 20 with Mahomes. That's how I feel. That's how it looked like it was going during the game. Even though I thought the Browns had a chance to win, it never really materialized. Their run game was solid, the Browns, but for whatever reason, they didn't approach it early on and ran the ball. They took too long to get to it. I thought Baker played really well, and I'm willing to admit that I was wrong about Baker. I think Baker is the future of the Cleveland quarterback position. Now, is Baker ever going to be an elite quarterback, top 5? I don't think so, but I think Baker is a good player. I'm back on the Baker bandwagon, right? I was wrong about Baker. I will admit that. And when I'm wrong, I admit it. I thought Baker Mayfield was good in this game. I actually thought he was very good in this game. He made enough plays outside the pocket. He extended plays. He made enough plays with his arm. He made some really nice passes. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Austin Hooper made some big catches. I thought Baker gave them a chance. And I think with a lesser quarterback, this game would have been not even a contest. But Baker at least gave them an opportunity in this game. And the last thing I want to talk about, or I actually have two things to talk about here. First thing, Tyreek Hill does it again. I made a video that everyone laughed at. Tyreek Hill is the MVP of the NFL. Tyreek Hill does it again. Okay? Tyreek Hill leads the team in receiving. Has a couple carries, rushing. And on the biggest play of the game, who do they throw the ball to? Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, again, the biggest reason the Chiefs win the game. Just saying. Okay? The Chiefs won the game because of Tyreek Hill. All right. That's all I want to say. Another game, another big game, another game that actually mattered, and Tyreek Hill was the best player on the field. Lastly, I have been impressed with Kansas City's ability to run the ball, no matter who their running back is. This has always been a staple of Andy Reid. Andy Reid has always found a way to get the best out of bad running backs. Darrell Williams, doesn't matter, right? The guy ran for like 6 a clip in this game. And I think that is the biggest edge the Chiefs have over the Bills. Their actual ability to run the football. So if Chiefs fans want to say a main difference in a game that is going to be probably windy, probably going to be raining, probably going to have some precipitation, the main edge the Chiefs have is I think the Chiefs have more balance, and I think they can therefore possess the football better than the Bills. And that would be the reason they beat the Bills. Because the Bills are just as explosive as the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are probably a little bit more well-rounded. So that might give them the edge in this game. All right. The final game was the Saints versus the Buccaneers. The game we were all waiting for. Legend versus legend. I told you guys the Saints would win the division. I told you guys the Saints would be the better team in the regular season. I told you guys that when it came to playoff time, you don't bet against Tom Brady. You don't bet on Drew Brees over Tom Brady. I told you in the playoff preview, I'm taking the Bucs because of Tom Brady and because he's better than Drew Brees. I told you that. Go back, watch it. I know that you guys want to make Lenny wants to make all the bad take videos. Where are the good take videos, Lenny? Where are the good take videos? I heard Turtle say, this is just a bad matchup, Mitch. When do you learn? When do the people learn that the Saints, they're just better than the Bucs? The Bucs will never beat the Saints. Turtle told me, but I said, no, Turtle. You've never faced Tom Brady in the playoffs. You don't know what it's like. In fact, the only person that was on my side was Ultra. I gotta respect Ultra for this. Because why was he on my side? Why? Because he played Tom Brady in the playoffs. His team played Tom Brady in the playoffs. He understands. Okay? So credit to Ultra. But other than that, you guys were all wrong. 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 I had how many comments? Mitch, you're an idiot. You're biased. Mitch, why are you picking the Bucs? Mitch, this makes no sense. How can you pick the Bucs when they lost to the Saints twice? My own dad said they should be 10-point underdogs. You should give the Bucs 10 points. I just can't believe it. How many years do we need to watch Tom Brady to say he should never be underdog to nothing? He's the GOAT. And am I saying Tom Brady was the reason they won? Not necessarily, but he was a heck of a lot better than Drew Brees in this game. Let me tell you. The difference in this game was Tom fucking Brady. That was the difference. That was the difference. Okay? Let's go down the list. I tweeted after the game. The Saints have the better coaching. The Saints whooped that candy ass coaching in that game yesterday. The Saints coached circles around the Bucs. The Saints had the better offensive line. The Saints in both matchups got more pressure. The Saints corners were better. The Saints safeties were better. Okay? Yes, the Bucs have better weapons, but it was nullified because the Saints defense is kind of like the kryptonite of the Bucs offense, and Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians had their head directly up their asses. So that didn't matter that Mike Evans and Antonio Brown got hurt. And Chris Godwin was out there. It didn't matter. So all the things that the Bucs do well, the Bucs winning the line of scrimmage, the Bucs having great receivers, the Bucs strengths have all been nullified versus the Saints. And on paper, the Saints were better than the Bucs in all three games. I feel bad for Sean Payton because he outcoached Bruce Arians by a mile. Okay? He drew up a trick play to Jameis Winston, and they scored a touchdown. But why did the Bucs win? Tom Brady. That's it. Tell me another reason. Drew Brees, if he's on the Bucs and Tom Brady's on the Saints, the Bucs win. The Bucs get blown the F out by 30. Here's the problem. I said in the preview, man, press coverage, physical, throw off the timing, blitz Drew Brees, Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles with the great game plan, okay? Todd Bowles was great. But it was because Drew Brees was a bum. Drew Brees can't throw past 12 yards. I praised the guy at the beginning, but I'm trying to critique his play right now. I still love you, Drew Brees. Okay. Drew Brees can't throw the ball past 10 yards. So why were the Bucs able to play the way they played on defense? Because Drew Brees can't throw. So when they play like that, they're in your face. Everybody's at the line. You can take away the run game. You can take away Alvin Kamara. Great. Carlton Davis was unbelievable. Jamel Dean. Unbelievable. Sean Murphy bunting. Pick six. Unbelievable. Devin White. Holy. That guy was. Devin White had the best performance I've seen by a linebacker all year. That guy was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay? The Saints were the worst matchup for the Bucs. The Bucs beat their worst matchup yesterday. Devin White was unbelievable. Michael Thomas got 0 catches. 0. Not 1. Not 2. Not 3. 0. My guy, Carlton Davis. 0. I'm sorry. Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, no arm or arm, okay? Michael Thomas is not elite. I'm done. He's not elite. Slant boy is not elite. He tested Sean Murphy bunting as a man and he said, pick 6 your ass. I want to give a clap to Jason Light because this is Jason Light's team, the GM of the Bucs. This is Jason Light's team. Bruce Arians, credit to you, okay? Credit to you, Leftwich. Credit to you, Bulls. This is Jason Light's team. Winfield, 2nd round. Best safety in the draft. I said it. Steele. Tristan Wirfs, best tackle in the draft. 0 pressures from Cameron Jordan. Steal. Tristan Wirfs is already like a top 3 right tackle. Jason Light's team. Tyler Johnson, back shoulder. He built the defense. Devin White. Vita Vea's coming back. He got him too. JPP. Shaq Barrett. He signed him. He got Tom Brady in Tampa. Jason Light's team. Okay? Again, I feel bad for Sean Payton because his hands were tied. There's only so much you can do when your quarterback can't do it. You know why I say this? Because at the end of the game, they were running the ball into stacked boxes because they had to. They had no choice. In my opinion, the Saints were the best roster in the NFL this year. Top to bottom. Bucs are second. In my opinion, the Saints had the best roster with combination of coaching. Bucs might have the best roster, but you don't know that because of the coaching. But the Saints, in my opinion, were, I don't know, but based on talent, they're the only team that can out-talent the Bucs. And we saw that in 2 games. But it did not matter because of Tom Brady. It didn't matter. That's what Tom Brady does. That's what he has done. Okay? The Bucs won. I told you they'd win, and they won. They did it. So I'm here to gloat. I hope you guys enjoyed that game. It was a great game. To me, it was a great combination of good offense, offense, defense, great defense, special teams, play calling, trick plays, run ball, pass ball, defensive plays. That was a great game. I loved it. Now, where did the Saints go? Where did the Saints go? They got no quarterback. Drew Brees is gone. Do they bring back like Jameis Winston? Is Jameis Winston the guy? Is Taysom Hill the guy? Taysom Hill didn't play. Is he the guy? By the way, they missed Taysom Hill yesterday, I think. That's going to be interesting, man. I think what I would do is I would keep the tandem of them, and I would have a competition, see who's best, play them. And if it's Jameis who's the quarterback, you can have Hill as the combo guy, usually just doing his role, what he does. But yeah, the top 2 rosters played yesterday. The Bucs were just better than the Saints, but the difference was 41-year-old Brees was done. 43-year-old Brady is still here, and he's going to be in Lambeau next week. That's my thoughts on that game. That was a hell of a game. That's why I have no voice right now. That's why I can't yell at Nick or Ultra or Durkant. I can't. So, let's talk about the conference title games. I'm not going to say too much. The lines are Tampa Bay is an underdog of 3.5 points. The Green Bay Packers are favored in Lambeau by 3.5 right now. And the AFC Championship, the Chiefs are favored at Arrowhead versus Buffalo by 3. And that likely means that Mahomes is playing. So for all of you guys that don't know, I think that would mean that most likely he's playing, or Vegas wouldn't put that line out. And I do expect him to play. So I'm expecting 2 really good games. I think for the first time in a couple of years, we have the 4 actual best teams. And for the first time in a long time, we have 4 of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks playing in the conference title games. So those 2 things are excellent. We usually don't get the best quarterback matchups. I remember the year where we had Blake Bortles versus Brady and Nick Foles versus Case Keenum? Those days are long gone. This year we got Brady versus Rodgers and Mahomes versus Allen. That's stupendous. That's amazing. And in my opinion, these are without a shadow of a doubt the 4 best teams in the NFL. So I'm glad we're getting that, because sometimes we don't. Last year we did not, okay? Last year we did not get the 4 best teams in the AFC and NFC Championship. The Titans, for as awesome as that run was, can we realistically say they were better than the Ravens for the whole season? No. Okay? I would have much rather seen Ravens Chiefs last year, and I would have much rather have seen Saints Niners last year. But the Saints got upset by the Vikings. The Vikings got wrecked. The NFC last year was a disaster. The NFC last year, we had the Vikings win, upset, and then get an absolute disaster versus San Francisco. The Packers made it somehow, and they got absolutely demolished in the NFC Championship game. So we finally actually have the 4 best teams, and we actually have 4 of the 5 best quarterbacks. So that to me is awesome, because we usually don't, and I'm happy we do. So when I usually say no NFL teams are good, I'll officially say that these 4 teams are good. And I would say the Saints were also a pretty good team. So I, at the end of the day, will say that 4 NFL teams were good this year, guys. It took a while for me to admit it, but 4 NFL teams are good. Okay? You happy now? 4 NFL teams were good. Okay? All right. Let's answer some questions. Let me know what your questions are. Let's go. Guys, if you haven't already, Gronk, spike that like button. Show your appreciation for the channel, for the video, for the rants, for the reactions. Gronk, spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more NFL. All right. Haneke. Yes. Go. What's up, guys, in the chat? I see Nicholas Gill is here. George Patton. I honestly don't know. But I will do my research. But I honestly have not heard of him. What do you think? Muhammad says Super Bowl 52 is the best Super Bowl of all time. Whew. Random Dude says Carlton owns Michael Thomas like Lattimore owns Evans. Nintendo Switch says Green Bay or Tampa. I'm cheering for Tampa. I will not make my pick until I make my pick. Stephon Diggs is better. There's no doubt. Stephon Diggs is the third or fourth best receiver in the league. Like, it's not even a conversation. I'm sorry. Holden says, what quarterback do you want the Pats to make a move on, even if it's unrealistic? Okay, so Holden, I'll take Patrick Mahomes. If we're talking unrealistic, I'll take Patrick Mahomes. If we're talking realistic, I want Matthew Stafford on my team. Durkant says Diggs is faster, more explosive, more dangerous overall than Michael Thomas. And he's literally just as good a route runner. Turtle says Carlton Davis has played good against a healthy Thomas a whopping 0 times this year. Why was Thomas playing? Lenny says, Mitch, I picked the Bucs to win. Why did you lie? I don't remember, Lenny. I'm sorry. Can the Bucs get pressure? I'll talk about that in the preview. They did the first game. I think if Vita Vea plays, there's a lot better chance they do. But I'll say this. I think that might be the biggest matchup in the game. The Packers tackles versus JPP and Shaq. That might be the biggest matchup in the game. And on paper, that favors Tampa, but I'll talk about it and we'll discuss it when we get there. Where do you think Deshaun Watson will go? Atlanta, I don't know. Atlanta, Miami, New England, New York, one of those places, I guess. Mohammed says Diggs or Adams. I'd lean Adams there, but oof, that's close though. Cash says, do you think Brady's career would be more impressive with a 6-4 Super Bowl record or a 6-3 Super Bowl record? 6-4. Jesse says, have you heard that Vita Vea may play versus the Packers? Yes. Nicholas says, Julio or Diggs? Man, I gotta say Diggs right now, just because he's been healthier, but when they're both healthy, I'd still probably lean towards Julio. Ultra says if Brady can come back from 28-3, then he can beat the Saints in the Superdome. Bro, please stop. These questions are literally not even debatable, says Dash. Go Bucks says Jesse. We talked about that earlier in the vid. Fire the Cannon says your Super Bowl is still possible and pretty likely if Mahomes can't play. Well, I hope it happens if Mahomes can play, because that would kind of suck. Opium says, Mitch, will N'Keal Harry get 1,000 yards next season? He will get approximately 0 yards. Lenny says, Mitch, I was going to make the worst and best picks of 2020, but since you banned me from the Patreon video 2 weeks ago, I decided to make the Super Bowl curse button. Okay. Durkant says, why are you guys all on Brady as if Tampa's defense wasn't why they won? Miss 07 says, imagine Deshaun in the Niners. Durkant says, holy. Seahawks and Lions fan says, Watson to Denver. Dash says, I think he'll go to Miami. Ultra says, he wasn't the reason he won, but dude. He wasn't the reason that they didn't. He wasn't the reason that they almost lost. Muhammad says, who is the most likely quarterback to beat Brady and his Super Bowl wins? Right now, I guess Mahomes, but I don't think anyone really has a good shot of that, to be honest. Jesse says, which players will come back for Buccaneers next year? Who will not? I don't know, but I would expect, based on it being Brady's last year, that pretty much everyone comes back. Maybe they move on from like Chris Godwin. Ultra says, Mitch, did Cam Jordan play yesterday? Where are all the people that said Saints edge rush would dominate? Good question. I don't know. Durkan said he wasn't a top 15 before the year. Who are you talking about? Nicholas's top 6 receivers are Hill, Julio, Hopkins, Adams at 4. Wow. Thomas at 5 and Diggs at 6. Samuel says, do you think the Ravens should target Allen Robinson? Yes. Any receiver, but Allen Robinson's very good. Whose offense is better, Bucs or Bills? Bucs. More balance. Go Bucs says, Armstead is better than Vita Vea just to annoy Lenny. What's up, Rob? He says Watson to San Francisco. Isaac says Packers versus Chiefs. Packers win is my pick for the Super Bowl. Okay. Your can says Lenny is getting too obsessed with the server and making his videos. Dude's legit losing sleep over it. Connor says Injustice 1v1. Eventually, I don't have the game downloaded, so I got to download it, and then I got to remember to play you, and then I got to play you. So there's the process there. But we'll do it in the offseason. Fire the Cannon says, hopefully Chris Godwin can shake off his playoff yips. Even if not, I'm fine with seeing more Tyler Johnson. Well, there is a problem with AB's knee, so hopefully AB is okay. But I would expect AB to be kind of limited next game. So I'd expect to see more Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller regardless. Kind of used interchangeably. Random dude says Diggs was easily top 10 before the year. That's a terrible take. Opium says, Mitch, is Kyle Fuller elite? No. He's good, though. Muhammad says, is Troy Aikman a top 5 quarterback of all time? No. Top 25. 20, maybe? He's close to 20, I think. Cash says, do you think Brady's career is the best in history of sports? It's between him and Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky for team sports. Isaac says, I hope people don't sleep on Tampa. I picked New Orleans to win, but everyone should respect Tampa right now. I don't want another jinx championship where everyone brags Green Bay will win and end up losing. Seahawks and Lions fans says Bucs or Chiefs. Go Bucs. Cash says, do you think Brady's... I already answered that. Durkan says, when is Mitch going to admit that Buffalo has an elite defense? They do not. They're good. They're a solid defense to good defense, but they're not elite. Ultra says, Mitch, why do you give Kansas City's defense credit? Because they played very well versus the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah. Nicholas says, top 6 this year. Adams, Diggs, Hill, Hopkins, DK, Ridley. Jesse says, who's the best coaching hire so far? In my opinion, it is Staley. Will the Bucs find the game easier playing a less tight second? I think the Bucs offense is going to score. Their toughest matchup is the Saints defense. They will score versus the Packers. Nicholas says, what do you mean that's better? It's a different list. Tyler says, if we play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I'd put Jamel Dean on Tyreek Hill with Mike Edwards or Antoine Winfield by side. I agree. Here's the thing. Something I didn't mention about the game versus Saints. I hope this means the Bucs have found their identity because their secondary is a lot better in man coverage. They have very good athletes in the secondary. They're not the smartest because they're not the most experienced. So when they play zone, they're not nearly as good as when they play man. So hopefully they learn from that and they play more man moving forward. I actually think if they play man versus the Packers, they'll fare pretty well as long as they get some pressure, of course. Versus the Chiefs, that's more difficult to do because, of course, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. But I think if you play the Chiefs, you can't zero blitz them, the way you did the first game. If you're going to play man, you got to play, 2 deep and man underneath and just hope Shaq gets there and JPP gets there. You could blitz the occasional time, but it's got to be very timely, and you can mix some zone in. I thought Bowles did a great job with the mix of zone and the mix of man last game, and let's just hope that he sticks towards that, because I think they are a much better secondary when they play man, and I think they proved that on Sunday. Because Carlton Davis, he is really, really good in press coverage, but he's not as good in zone. Jamel Dean is not the smartest, let's just be honest, but he is an excellent athlete. And Sean Murphy-Bunting is a smart player, but he is also very quick at nickel. So they're just better corners in general. D Knight says, want to talk about how outmatched the Packers were all around? The Packers were not outmatched by the Rams. On paper, they were, but Staley did not choose, in my opinion, the right strategy of attack, and the Packers had their way. They obliterated them. Ultra says MJ is 1, Brady is 2. Durkan says Jim Brown's the greatest athlete ever. D-Knight says, and let's just assume you're going to pick the Bucs next week. I don't know, maybe. Lenny says Wayne Feetsky was the man. Jesse says, wouldn't it be wild if Brady goes to the Super Bowl versus the Bills? It would be awesome. Join the Discord. Yes. Do it. Do it. Discord, link in the description. Lenny says Bucs vs. Packers 2020 equals Niners vs. Packers 2019. Mohammed says, would you give Cam another year? I wouldn't hate it. Depends who the other options are. But I wouldn't hate it. They need receivers. They need tight ends. They need a lot of things. They need a good offense. I'm worried now that McDaniels might leave, though. That might hurt. Bethel says Staley's going to be the best hire if they get the OC right. I don't agree with Nick's take. Kevin says Kelsey and Hill score this week. I'll say Kelsey scores, but Hill doesn't. Unless he gets a little touch pass. I think the Bills will play very soft coverage, and Hill won't score because of that. Like last game. Isaac says Rodgers versus Mahomes, the previous best passer in NFL history versus today's best passer. Where's Dan Marino? Ross says, what do you think about Chargers hire? Love it. Talked about it earlier. Who is your best running back when everyone's healthy? McCaffrey's the most well-rounded. Saquon's the most explosive. Cook was my favorite this year. Kamara is really good too. There's a lot of good running backs. Don't know if I have a number one. Jesse says, does Winfield Jr. have a chance? No, but he maybe deserves it. Dash says, also, how much of a drop-off do you think the Saints have next year? I think the Saints will be an average team next year. Samuel, you're right. Brian says, Mitch, does Brady retire if he wins the Super Bowl? I don't think so. Cash says, do you think with today's rules a good offense is more important? Yes. Muhammad says, Patriots need to fire Josh McDaniels and sign Chris Godwin or Allen Robinson. Fire Josh McDaniels. I don't agree with that. Then they should draft a defensive tackle, then trade first overall for Deshaun. They're gonna have to trade a lot more for that than that for Deshaun. Lenny says, is Kyle Shanahan a top 10 coach? Yes. Nicholas says, in general, what else we got? What was the right strategy for the Rams? I thought they would play a lot more man coverage, stick Ramsey on Adams, and Yeah, I didn't like how soft their secondary played. It mostly had to do with their secondary, not necessarily their front. And I thought they should have implemented more blitzes earlier in the game. We'll see if the Bucs do that. If the Packers lose, do you ever think Aaron Rodgers will get back to the Super Bowl? Maybe next year, if they have a good offseason. I follow a lot of sports bettors, and I bet for a living myself. You have the best content I know. Appreciate that. I've heard that a lot, so I think I'm definitely going to up my betting content. And if you have any suggestions for me, let me know, because I don't really have a lot of experience in terms of creating content for betting, but I am going to look into it, and I'm going to start doing it. I enjoy it a lot, too. I'm pretty good at it, and I want to do more. So, yeah, thank you. What else we got? Lenny says the 89 Niners are better than the 07 Pats. Maybe. It's close. Maybe. I think the 89 Niners might be the best team of all time. Isaac says, I meant facing off each other. I doubt Marino wants to return from retirement. Oh, I thought you meant just in general. But I think Marino might be the best pure passer of all time. I know his name doesn't get mentioned there enough, but I think he should be. Hector says, imagine Buffalo Bills versus Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. What a revenge game that would be. That would be a really interesting storyline. Jesse says Bucs need to bring in a legitimate starting quarterback or draft a quarterback next year to take over after Brady. This is my thing, Jesse. I think while Brady's there, you need to go all in on Brady, and you need to try to win the Super Bowl. So if you're using a first-round pick on a quarterback, I wouldn't do it. I'd just wait till he leaves. Like, I know that fans want to have this succession plan, but what's wrong with just sucking for a year? And then, like, what, you could use another player there. What if you could get an elite corner or, another safety or another defensive lineman or another offensive lineman? Like, why not add another piece to a potential Super Bowl team than using it? Like, that's just been my thing with the Patriots all these years, is like, keep drafting to win the Super Bowl. I know that you want to sustain success as a Bucs fan, but I think you need to understand that getting a quarterback in the late draft is very hard. And if you're better off just sucking, or you're better off trading up the next year to get a quarterback, because it's very hard to find a good quarterback at like pick 28 to 32 than it is to get one if you suck for a year and get it at pick 5, So that would just be me if I was a GM. Understand that you got Tom Brady for 2 years. If you don't win it this year, you go all in to win it next year. If you win it this year, still go all in it to win it next year, because he's here for 2 years. Then he's done. Then you're not getting him back. So let's just try to get as many Super Bowls as we possibly can, or get as close as we possibly can. And then we find the next guy. Like, I get it that you want to have that plan. But again, I just feel like that's the way you need to play it if you're the team. That's just me, though. Michael says, how can Green Bay run well against Tampa? I don't know. That's a legitimately good question. Maybe to the edges. I think the last thing you want to do is run the ball up the middle. Yeah, bro. Like, for the Packers to win, they got to pass. I'm just going to be honest. Like, Michael, it's not easy to run against the Bucs. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't. I haven't seen a team really run on them. I'd say, I guess you got to kind of run to the edge. But I'll get more specific in that once we break down the game. Maybe I can find a couple weaknesses. Kevin says, do any of the games have a chance to be a blowout? I think the NFC Championship game has a chance to be a blowout for either team, depending on the way the game goes. AFC, probably not either way. Dose of Dion. We need to make a Lions video. Is that Dose of Dion? Why does it say 2.0? Is that a different person? Michael says you can't stop Adams. You can only hope to contain him. Fire says Texans, please don't trade Watson to an NFC South team. I'm scared because both the Panthers and Falcons should pursue him. That's true. They should. Would you still be a Patriots fan if they went 0-16? Yes. Isaac said for sure Marino is GOAT passer. Miss 07 says Mike LaFleur can be one of the best coordinators this season in my opinion. All right. Brian says, do the Patriots fans not name Mitch? Call for Bill's resignation. They won't fire him. If New England is 7-9 again or worse. No, okay. Yes, they do. A lot of Patriots fans are absolutely stupid, and they want to fire Bill Belichick. So, yes. Seahawks and Lions fans says Marino is third best quarterback of all time. Lenny says Marino was, I like how we got into Marino's tangent here. Marino was literally insane at a time where passing wasn't even a big deal. Ultra says Marino is top 6, not top 3. Nicholas says Marino is 4th or 5th. Mohammed says Randy Moss or Jerry Rice. I prefer Randy Moss, but I realize that Jerry Rice is the greater player. He accomplished more. Isaac says Marino is so good he is actually top -3. Tampa says our opponents for next season are all the AFC and NFC East. Wow, that might not be pretty. And they don't have a first place schedule. You're right. So that's going to be an easy season because they had a tough schedule this year, actually. Muhammad says, is Emmitt Smith the best running back of all time? No. Ultra says Brady, Montana, Manning, Unitas, Rogers, Marino. Hector says, yo, you should have definitely collab with John Lawson. I think both of you guys would kill it. And another football analyst. I don't know him, but you never know. I'm up to collabing with anybody. Ultra says if Rodgers wins the Super Bowl this year, I'd move him above Unitas. Maybe. Nicholas says, would say Unitas, but he played in a cupcake time. Nick must be a LeBron guy. Lenny says, damn, Mitch from the side is nice. Jesse says, definitely not in the first, but like the 7th round, 199 later rounds. Yeah, good luck. Do you think the Bucs coaching staff is a net positive on Brady? It feels like he's winning despite them. There are certainly better offensive staffs, but there are also worse offensive staffs. The defensive staff is pretty good. The offensive staff is average, I would say. I think they're certainly better out there. I think the one he had in New England is better, but I don't think they're bad. I just think I think they do what they do very well, but when they play a team where the other team is good at stopping what they do, they don't adjust well. So that's what I would say. Now, luckily, I don't think there's a team left in the playoffs that can stop what they do well. In fact, I think the Chiefs would be the worst matchup for the Bucs offense because even though Spagnuolo's had success versus Brady, and the first game was kind of interesting in that regard, the Bucs surged at the end. And the Chiefs are actually very bad at defending deep passes. So I think if the Bucs were to get the Super Bowl, the Chiefs defense would have a tough time with their offense. Now, the Bills, of course, McDermott has experience playing Brady. I don't think he has the players to stop them. And I don't think he has the pass rush either. And then when you look at the Packers, I think the Packers have if they play it right, and their secondary plays above their level and their heads, then I think they got a chance of slowing them down. But I think they're going to be had in the running game. I think the challenge with the Bucs offense is Brady is so smart. They got so many great weapons, and they can also run the ball. Like, they have a power rushing attack that's actually really strong. When they want to run the ball, they can run it. So that's not exactly ideally what you would want the offense to be, but if they're forced in that situation, they can do it. So they're challenging. I mean, there's a reason the Saints were a really good matchup for them and probably one of the only good matchups because they have a pretty good secondary. They have a team that really knows the system well, and they can kind of jump a lot of the routes, and they recognize a lot of the schemes. And then they have a defensive line that can both pressure and stop the run. So that's why the Saints were such a challenging matchup throughout the year. But as we saw in the second half with the Bucs, they kind of figured it out and were able to move the ball. So, yeah, the Bucs are just a challenging team to stop. In general. Marcus says, have you heard the news about Vita Vea? Yes, I have. I love it. It's great news. Bethel says, better coach, Tomlin or Pete Carroll? All time? Probably Pete. Right now? I'm going to still say Pete Carroll. Jesse says, are Leftwich or Bowles getting interviews? Bowles did. I don't know about Leftwich. S. Fark says that Browns loss was depressing, nearly on the verge of contention. Yeah, that was rough, man. That was tough. But, hey, Cleveland, you guys had a great season, man. You guys played, I think, above your level. So, congratulations for a good season. Isaac says, thanks for the invite. I'll be there often after Friday when I finish school. Discord? See you in Discord. Kevin says Brady goes off for 5 touchdowns. Damn! No, I'll try. I will not. Because Simmons is very good. We'll see when I do my rankings where they rank. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, don't forget to Gronk spike that like button and subscribe to the channel for more NFL. Remember to check out all of the Bottom Line View things. Of course, the Discord, as I just mentioned, in the description, as well as the Instagrams. There's the football for the scoreboard. The Instagrams at Bottom Line, the Bottom Line View, the same name as the channel name. Check it out on Instagram. And then also my Instagram is at Mitch Milani, where you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram if you want to follow my personal accounts. Instagram, I don't post anything really football related. Sometimes I do, but it's mostly just personal. And then Twitter, I tweet a lot about football. So if you're interested in that, follow those things. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. It's Mitch. See you soon. Peace.